the way from Chicago.
Chicago.
And when did you go to Chicago?
March the 20th, 1957.
And what age are you now then?
What age you say I am? Come on.
Yeah, you're about 55. You're about 55.
I'll be 80 in November.
And when did you come back?
2 weeks ago.
And travel is no problem to you, no?
I have crossed the ocean 110 times.
Oh my God, that's a lot of.
And have the stamps on my passport to prove it.
Did you ever go by ship?
I did, when I first went out.
First time.
I boarded the Queen Mary at Southampton. And on our way out, we stopped and picked up some GIs at France. When we got into New York, the GIs were let off first, and the news media were there to meet them. They knelt down on the ground and kissed the dock, putting on a good show. Next off, American citizens. Last off, discrimination. The immigrants.
The immigrants, yeah. And why did you go to America?
To better myself. I was told the streets were paved with gold.
And were they?
I have yet to see it.
But you made a good living there?
America's been good to me. Very good to me.
Well, that was the gold.
I realise one thing for the years I have been there. It won't come in and find you in bed. You've got to jump out and get it.
And where were you born?
Mill Street.
Mill Street.
Westport, County Mayo.
And who's your relations there?
I have a brother Gabriel,
Gabriel,
and I have a brother Tiny that's now living in Newport.
That's right, yeah.
Brother Jerry in London. A brother Alphonsus in Arizona.
And they're all still alive?
All still alive.
And did you get involved in music?
No, I got involved in the Irish American Heritage Centre in Chicago. And I have been chosen for a photograph in a large book that's been published in New York, The Irish Face in America. And that book is on exhibit here in this library.
The book is here, is it? Well,
I came here some years ago and presented.
That's great, yeah. And did you go to England before you went to...
I went to England to earn the fare to go to America.
And how long were you in England for? 3.5
years.
And had you left Westport much before that?
3.5 years. I left Westport maybe two years before that, and I served my apprenticeship to carpentry, excuse me, with J.P. McCormick and Sons in Castlebar.
Castlebar.
Now where Dunn's store is today, they had a carpenter shop built there.
In Castlebar?
In Castlebar.
Castlebar.
Just off the Haymarket.
Okay. And what age were you when you went to England?
For a minute. I'd say I was 17 and a half.
Then, and had you been out of Westport much? Like, were you in Dublin, Galway and all that kind of...
Yes, yeah.
And when you went...
Great interest in the soccer, more so than the Gaelic.
Okay. And did you go to London first, or where did you go to first?
I went to London first.
And what did you think of London after leaving Westport?
I thought it was such a drastic difference. Financially, here there was no money after the war. There was nothing. And if people had you work for them, you got very little. And I mean very little. I can quote you exactly what my paycheck was. I worked in Father Angeles Park, on the building of Father Angeles Park. First place I worked.
What year was that?
51.
51, okay.
Then my wages there was £2 a week.
£2 a week.
Yeah. I went from there to Castlebar. I got a fiver.
Yep.
I stayed in digs down in Lennon Hall Street and for 50 bob a week. First I cycled back and forth the 11 miles for quite a bit of time.
Kept you fit.
Yes, it kept me fit. And then when I left there, I went to work in London. My take home in London was £15 a week.
Yeah.
That was a big jump.
So you went from 2 to 15, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the next move was to Chicago. My wages jumped from the £15 a week to $125.
Which was about which was about 60 or 70 pounds at the time.
Was, yes.
Because it used to be $2 for a pound for a long time.
Yes.
For a long time, yeah.
And ahead of that, it was $3 for a pound.
Was it $3 in your time?
Yes.
Oh, better again.
Better again.
Better again, yeah. So, and were you astounded when you saw London, the big buildings and all the busy people, or did it?
Not really. I was there a short time, and my brother Frank had been working for Burton Clark and came across on a holiday, and he was so impressed and got a job right away, he stayed.
So you went into the United States Army, yeah?
I had to sign up for the draft.
The draft,
It was an agreement in those days. If you were accepted into the United States for permanent residency, you had to sign for the draft 6 months from the date you arrived. And in about 9 or 10 months, they had me. But I was in peacetime. I served at Fort Hood, Texas, and Fort Polk, Louisiana, for the 2 years. Then I was in the Army Reserve for 4 more when I got out.
And did you enjoy the Army?
The Army was good to me.
Good to you.
Yes.
Did they pay you while they were in there?
When I was in the next barracks to Elvis Presley.
You never got to see him, no?
I did.
Did you?
Days,
Did
yes.
you? And would he be out in parade and all that? He would.
He would.
Was he one of the lads? He was.
He was one of the lads.
Nothing-
And then he went into special services and went overseas to Germany to entertain the troops. He had rubber legs, see, and he could wag them all over the place.
Yeah. Were you a fan of his?
Yes, very much so. I mean, when you take a young fella that was a milk truck driver delivering milk and made it to where he made it, God bless him.
And what did you do after that when you left the Army then?
When I was discharged,
Yeah.
honourable discharge, I got at the carpentry, went back to Chicago, and got into the carpentry and into general remodelling, and I have given 30 years of weekends to the Irish American Heritage Centre in Chicago, laying out the work, supervising for the volunteers.